That's okay. Good morning, everybody. We are here for Hot Seat Friday, and as has been the tradition the last couple of weeks, we aren't able to stream through Zoom or through our other platforms. So what we're doing, and I apologize for being late, is we've got Emma in the background. We're on Zoom together, and I'm going to record it so that I can then share it afterwards. So this is an audio, and we're also recording a video. So I've got Emma with me today. Emma is my client and assistant coach in my Get Set Coaching Academy, and she's here for Hot Seat Friday. Welcome, Emma.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Jessica, for having me on. I'm excited to be here today.
Me too. So I'm going to open this up on my phone so I can answer any questions. As you jump on, please say hi, whether you're watching live or watching the replay. Let us know that you're here. Good morning, Evram. Good morning, Isidro. Awesome. Okay, great. So all week this week, we've been talking about the small things that you do on a regular basis that actually create the massive results in your life. And a year ago, I did a whole training on this, a 5-part training on this, and I shared some of those pieces here this week. We've talked about, how to create small wins inside of the big wins, right? How to turn the big game of going for your goals into smaller games along the way that you get to win, right? Creating wins and training your mind to actually complete, right? As opposed to just being like, trying to force the big goal to happen. We talked about your spending power, your power as a consumer, and how what you invest in actually, you can look around in your life and see what you've been investing in and how that has been supporting your bigger vision or not supporting it, right? Yesterday, we talked about no longer fighting for your limitations, right? No longer arguing for why you can't do something, have something, be something, right? And that's a daily process, right? That's a daily process of catching yourself in those automatic conversations of why something is not possible. And I shared with you my 2-for-1 rule and just other examples in my own life of how I started to change that script so that I could actually be energetically aligned and start to believe what it is that I wanted to create for myself. So we talked about how at any point you can make a shift. So the reason I want to bring on Emma today for this hot seat and to really just go even deeper with some real life personal examples on how you apply all of this in your day-to-day life is because Emma's right now in like a huge stretch in her own life. So she decided, to go back. Emma, you did a fitness challenge years ago, right?
Oh my gosh, like 13 years ago, I did a bodybuilding show and a fitness show. Yeah.
Right. And so as you guys know, this year I returned to bodybuilding after 3.5 years of being off, and I turned pro. And so because of that, Emma was inspired to jump back in the game as well. And Emma, tell us a little bit about where you are in the process now and like some of the conversations that you and I have just had, right? Like texting, like you're in the thick of it. So let's just share like raw and, we'll go from there.
Totally. Yeah. Well, what really preempted this is, I've been in training for like 6 months. I'm an athlete. I'm always in the gym. Working out is easy for me. There's never resistance around that. But yesterday, and I'm like 9 days away from my show. So my macronutrients are limited. The energy is a little bit limited from food. And I just had like a little breakdown in the gym yesterday where I didn't want to be there. I had no energy. I didn't want to work out. And I started to get angry at my coach for not letting me have carbs. I got angry at the people in the gym for just being there. I had rage music on, like listening to loud music, and I just had my head down, wasn't connecting to anybody. And I just started to feel like I wanted to quit. It was the craziest thing. Like I was in this emotional sabotage of like negative emotions. And I just was like, I don't even want to do this anymore. Why am I doing this? And I just wanted to quit. So,
and what happened? You sent me a message.
Yeah, I reached out to you and I received something that was really helpful. And you said, it's normal. Like, this is a normal part of the process. Like, we all get to a point where we feel like we want to quit. And like, I had already started to like right the ship a little bit, but it was really powerful for me to hear that from you, that, oh my gosh, okay, like, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. This is part of the process. Like, it's okay that I have a moment of weakness and I feel like I want to quit. So,
right. And let me jump in on that, because that is really the most important piece of this conversation. So we'll back it up a little bit in a minute, and talk a little bit about trusting the process, right, Emma? Because that's something that you've had to really,
totally
lean into. But in that moment yesterday, and I'm so glad that she reached out, right? This is why community is important. This is why camaraderie, you not putting your head down and trying to do everything on your own is important, because she was having a moment where she was judging herself for feeling like she wanted to quit, being this close to show date. And here is what is so real. And it's real in this sport. It's real in all sports. It's real in your business. It's real in your day-to-day life. It's real in your relationships, right? Anything that requires some kind of endurance, right? And that requires some kind of sacrifice, and anything that you want is going to require some kind of sacrifice of something, right? It is normal and almost expected that at a certain point you're going to feel like quitting. That is normal. And when you don't realize that it is normal and that it's part of the process, what you end up doing is telling yourself, I'm not good enough, I'm not a finisher. You start making up all these stories and comparing yourself to the other people who you've made up stories about in their life, assuming that they don't have the same struggles. And wanting to quit is so normal. I had a conversation just like a week ago with a super successful multi-seven-figure entrepreneur. We had conversations about the fact that in the last 2 years, she's wanted to quit like 7 or 8 times because things had gotten so hard, right? Because, at certain point we're like soaring, and then at another point we've got another hurdle to get over. We've got another growing pain. So Emma, knowing that, like I said to you, oh my God, I feel like that every single show almost that I do, like 4 weeks out, 5 weeks out, I'm like, oh God, why am I doing this? Right? And it's because we are so used to being comfortable that as soon as we get a little discomfort, we're like, forget this. I need to go back into my comfort zone.
Yeah, totally. And one thing you just said really resonated, which is like finding the right community who's going to pull you up. Because the thing about this sport is it is intense. Like, it's an extreme level of fitness and leanness. And most people, it's hard, and most people don't get it or understand it. And so even people that love me, like my mom, my neighbor, who's one of my best friends for 20 years, they don't get it. And so they're like, why? Even guys at the gym who are my like fitness buddies are thinking I'm a little crazy now. Like, they see me with low energy and they're like, so if I were to stay in that circle, it's really easy to be pulled down into why am I doing?
She considers this low energy. Look at her, right? That's low energy.
For me, this is.
They can't see you right now, but Emma's just bouncing around, smiling, all like totally great energy, right?
Well, it turns out a big part of my problem is magnesium. I started supplementing more magnesium, and that helps a lot. So,
well, but the point is, what she's saying is really key. And if you guys can relate to this, and it doesn't have to be you relate to it around fitness. It's like you relate to this in your regular life. It's, I'm doing this show right now, Not Born to Be Average. And every single person that I've interviewed on there has some experience of this, meaning where the people that you're around on a regular basis who are used to an average life and are used to making sure that they stay comfortable, they will not understand this. And so they'll have all of these reasons why, like if she would have went to, like she said, her mom or her other friends who are not doing this, they would be like, just, you don't need to, like, you look great. As a matter of fact, you're getting too skinny or you're getting too muscular, right? Like,
you've done enough.
If you've done enough, like, why are you doing so much, right? So it's so important that you're reaching out to the right people. Make sure you're not taking advice and feedback from people who do not have what it is that you want, right? If she goes and starts taking advice for people that have not done a show or have not been in this experience, that's ridiculous. But how many times are people out there getting business advice, relationship advice, and everything from people who do not have what it is that you want? So it's so important. Now let's talk about, Emma, trusting the process or the process, if you're really right? So
that is hard. That is so hard for me. Like, that's a big part of my stretch.
That has been, not that
it has been. Thank you.
Been in the past difficult for you. And it's normal because you want to have control, right? Like, can you guys relate? Like, wanting to have control and know how everything is going to work out. So Emma hired my coach, right? Who's an amazing coach. And there's been, how many conversations have we had, Emma, where you're wanting to rewrite the diet? You're like,
totally.
I don't know if this is right. Why, and I said to you, how many times, Emma, you hired the coach. Now relax and stop coaching yourself.
You're paying for coaching. Take the damn coaching. Like, totally. You've said that many times.
Right.
Which I appreciate.
And think about that in your own lives. If you have a business coach, a fitness trainer, a relationship coach, like whatever it is, a financial guide, right? You invest in these people to take that weight off of you and to really help guide you. And then how many times do you second guess it? Right? How many times do you not trust it? And it all comes down to trust, right? It all comes down to trust. So Emma, over this course of what's it been now? How many months have you been training?
About 6 months.
About 6 months. And we've probably had how many conversations about trust the process?
I can't count.
But think about that. It's like how you were making it more difficult on yourself, right? And I've done it. That's why I can call it out. I can see it right away.
I was making it way more difficult, and it became like an avoidance tactic. Like, I just need to do more research. I want to find the perfect way. I want to make sure that, it's right for me. And so how I started to rationalize that with a lot of coaching from you was like, there's a ton of right ways, but you got to pick one and be consistent with it, because you can't piecemeal stuff together if it's not a proven method and expect to have the result that you want.
That's right.
And I also, I still believe, next time I do this, I want to do it a different way.
See?
But I believe that, and maybe I'm going to look into that. But right now, I'm consistent with this method because it's a proven path. I'm going to note how I'm feeling, how my body's responding. And when I started to conform, that's when you really do start to see the results. And it becomes easy because I got to turn off some of the mind that was trying to rationalize or come up with.
You, like I said to you at one point, it's like you're putting out extra energy that you don't need to be putting out right now. You've got a coach, you've got a process. There's no reason that you need to be doing, researching all this, trying to change that. It's like the grass is greener attitude, right? Like everyone is always looking for the other. It's like, how many times have I had to with clients, and I know other coaches always go through this too. It's like, your client has hired you, they're following, your system. And then all of a sudden they're trying to also get systems from this person and that person. And it's this idea of, I need more, right? Like, it's not enough. Like, it's too simple, right? And we overcomplicate it. And that's a pattern, right? So it's not just showing up, right? Like, let's be honest. Has that shown up in other areas of your life?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's absolutely a pattern.
Yeah. And so that's a pattern you want to break, because that it takes you out of focus, right? When you start,
Mhm.
trying to follow a bunch of people at the same time, you're doing a bunch of programs at the same time, or you've got your coach, but on the other end, like you're trying to get coaching from other people. It doesn't mean that you might not have a couple coaches in different areas, but when you're working with a coach, when you've got a trainer, when you're following a certain system, you get to block out all the other noise. This is one of the little things that you do on a daily basis that adds up to the exponential result, because look at where you are now, 6 days out or however many days, 11 days out. And it's exactly what I said to you like months ago. Emma, if you follow it, you are going to be so excited and pleased with your results, but they don't really show up until like you're right about to like get there, right? You're not going to see it till like the last 2 weeks.
And that's another place where it requires massive amounts of trust in the process, because it's like now the window is narrowing and you're like, ah. And so it's, I've really had to just surrender in the daily to like trust the process.
Yeah. But how does it feel now to be this close and you've gotten over all these, hurdles and conversations of like, trying to make it harder or trying to rewrite it or not trusting the process. And, we've had so many coachable moments through this, which has been great, right? I said to you, oh my gosh, when you sign up for this, the training and the discipline and everything that's going to come out of the process is going to just really make a great impact, a positive impact in all other areas of your life. And it is.
Yeah. Well, and that's the whole reason I did it, honestly, I noticed I was getting lazy. I was getting comfortable. I was getting complacent. And the worst of all is I was getting into a space where I was like afraid to start big things because I didn't know how to do it right.
Yeah.
And I didn't used to be that way. I mean, I used to be fearless and a risk taker. I mean, I've done bodybuilding before. I've done triathlons and marathons, and I've been in the Marine Corps. I've been to combat. Like, I've done huge, crazy things. And so I didn't used to be that way. And when I started to see what you teach, like the contrast between where I was and where I want to be and where I had started to condition myself to be, there was a big contrast, and I wasn't happy with that. And so I knew the pursuit of this, it was less about the goal, less about being on stage, and way more about these breakdowns and what you say the teachable moments are. And that's in the gym what really pulled me out of it, because I was like, this is what I asked for.
Yes.
This breakdown is really an opportunity for me to have a breakthrough. Like, I can use it to like help me grow into the person I want to be, which is urgent, risk taker. Consistent, absolutely.
Well, that's the piece I want you to really speak into. I want you to get connected right now. How many days are you out again from your show?
It's today's Friday, so I'm actually 8 days out. See, I didn't even tell you the right number.
Yeah, right. So that's okay. Details. So just get connected to the feeling of being a finisher, like going all the way, because that was the feeling and the belief system that was one of the goals of that we wanted to instill in you with this process, right? To break that pattern of starting and not finishing. And so just connect with the fact that over the past 6 months, you have gone through so many things where you wanted to quit, where you weren't trusting, where you were frustrated, and whatever process or conversation or whatever happened allowed you to get to the other side. And so now, like, the finish line is right in front of you. And you messaged me like, oh my God, I can't believe the way my body looks, like all of a sudden it's like overnight. But that only happened because you allowed yourself to get to the finish line. And we're not there yet, but you're there, right? Like, there's no turning back now. But it got really hard right before you're about to actually complete. And that's what happens in all areas of life. It happens like that in your business goals, your relationship goals, right? Like, people often are, about to break up or give up on the marriage just before they could have a breakthrough, right? And so right now you're at a moment And I don't mean to judge. I didn't mean to I wasn't throwing judgment on that. I'm just saying that's an example, right? You're at a moment now where you get to feel what it feels like to be a finisher and to go all the way.
And what I mean, the first thing I feel is an immense amount of pride and confidence in myself. And then this trust of self because I did what I said I was going to do. And then this huge piece of undeniable evidence that I can trust myself to do what I say I'm going to do. Like, the reason I think I got stuck is I spent 2 years of collecting evidence that I don't do and finish what I start. And so bogged down with all that evidence, I was in a holding pattern. And now I'm in completion energy of this huge goal. There's no denying that, like, that pride, that confidence, that trust in self, that evidence that consistency gets me results, that I can do and will do what I say I'm going to do and what I set my mind out to accomplish.
That's right.
And it's huge.
Well,
it's huge.
You've just created new evidence. And that is the point of everything we've been talking about the past couple weeks here in this group. Emma, that is a perfect, prime, beautiful example. And, you know, you've been working with me now for what, almost 2 years, a year and a half?
Yeah.
So you've really begun to master this, you know, like you really have mastered it. And, you know, it's this whole idea of people getting stuck in this belief system or story of, because I've done it this way in the past, that's the way it is. That's a fallacy. What we're proving right here is I get to create new evidence for how I get to be now and in the future. And that's where you get the power to really create whatever it is you want in your life. This is where the high performer results come from. This is where the above average life comes from. This is where your joy comes from, is knowing that you're a co-creator with God and the universe in your life. And so it's a powerful example, Emma, what you've shared here with us. And I'm really excited for you. And we're all going to be rooting you on. And of course,
Well, and you know, there's one other thing. I know we're about to close, but I want to share one other thing that how you really supported me. And it was, I was like traveling a ton in my preparation for this. And you take such a powerful stand, which I really appreciate. Like, no bullshit. You'll let it all, that bullshit just bounces off of you. And you're like, no, like, this is what I see. And you said to me, like, you don't want to get to a point where you said I did good enough considering I had all these trips, like using it as an excuse, because what you've done is created a back door for yourself.
Yes.
And when you said that to me, it was really a powerful awareness. Like, I totally have. Like, this is self-sabotage at its finest, like trying to create a backdoor. So just in case I don't go all the way, I have an excuse and my ego has can hold itself together.
Exactly. It's so true. I mean, and if you guys, that's a great note to end on. Emma, thank you for being vulnerable enough to share that. Let me land it for you right now. If you are currently pursuing a certain goal, but you've got all these little excuses on the side or reasons like, well, I did good enough because, you know, I have all these kids, or, you know, I did good enough because, like Emma was saying, well, I've been traveling so much. So, you know, considering how much I traveled, you know, then this is really good outcome, you know, and that's what I was calling her out on. Like, do not use that as an excuse. Stop traveling, right? Because that does not get to be a backdoor for you to go like 85, 90% instead of 100. And if you're doing that in your own life, right? If you're doing that in your own life, you are sabotaging yourself and you are robbing yourself of the experience of feeling what Emma's feeling right now of like, holy shit, this is what happens when you show up like a pro, right? Like, your confidence is through the door, through the roof, right? Your confidence is through the roof because now you know that you can create excuses or you can create opportunities to, like, you know, put a pin in it.
Yeah, you can create results and opportunities for greater results.
Yeah.
Like that's what I've done. And it's freaking awesome.
Well, we think you've got your energy back. So with that, we will wrap up because we're a little bit late today from getting started late. But Emma, thank you so much for being